In 1902, nearly 30 years before Norman Mineta was born, a penniless young man named Kunisaku Mineta left home in Mishima, Japan, and sailed to America.
He came over as a 14-year-old by himself.
The teenage boy was supposed to disembark in San Francisco and join his uncle in nearby Salinas, but Kunisaku spoke no English, and he accidentally got off the ship in Seattle instead.
So now he's 900 miles away from where he should be. So he had to work from one lumber camp, farm camp, and it took him a year and a half to work from Seattle down to Salinas. So when he gets to Salinas, he's now 16 years old. And his uncle said, "You've got to learn English." And he puts him in the first grade. And he said it was the most humiliating thing he ever did.
10 years after he came to America, Kunisaku made a decision.
I'm 24, it's time for me to consider getting married. So he wrote to a friend of his, and a friend sent back all these pictures. And, here's Emiko, here's Ayako, here's all these pictures. Then he said, "Remember my little sister who we used to tease? I'm enclosing her picture as well." He just said, "Okay, I'll get married to your sister."
Kane Watanabe was 20 years old when she arrived on a ship from Yokohama. The wedding was a result of a pact known as the Gentleman's Agreement of 1907. President Theodore Roosevelt signed it because of the growing anti-Japanese sentiment. Japanese could now come to the United States only to join a family member, which is how tens of thousands of Japanese women entered the U.S. as picture brides. Kane and Kunisaku Mineta were Issei, the first generation of Japanese to come to America.
When the Japanese immigrants first came here and they saw themselves as still being Japanese, they began to sink roots into the United States. And certainly when their children were born, they realized that perhaps we're not going back to Japan. Perhaps we truly are Japanese Americans.
The Minetas worked hard to become American. Kunisaku started his own insurance company in San Jose. They bought their own house. They joined the Wesley United Methodist Church.
So the experience of Japanese Americans is really the experience of an immigrant community coming to the United States. They were trying to eke out a living, trying to raise families, trying to establish themselves in this new land called America.